So how to get your K22 race apart. Same for the X trims. There's a disassembly latch here that you need to be aware of. It's two-sided and there's little thumb hole places you can pull down. What I do to remove the slide, obviously you've checked the guns clear, you pull those down, and what I do is I put the rod in here, so you see I'm pulling those latches down, and then we pull the slide back, which enables it to pop up, slip it forward, and because I've got the Seymour sight side mounted, I always mount them so it's just right to get the slide off. And we remove that and the recoil springs. So let's have a quick look at the slide. I'm not going to take the slide apart now, but I'll just show you how to get the firing pin out. So you'll need a punch, and generally you knock out from right to left. If ever you're confused about that, if you look at the gram power, you'll see that the pins are actually bigger on this side than they are the other side. So clearly you have to knock it out from right to left. So as a guide, always knock your pins out from right to left. There's a pin here, and if you tap that pin out all the way, you'll find that your firing pin and spring will come out. Your firing pin will look like this. So here's your firing pin, and the orientation of the firing pin in the gun is not that way up, it's that way. And that pin sits in that recess here. So that's the pin that stops it from coming out. And the firing pin spring obviously sits on this end. To remove the extractor, you'll see there's a pin here. You tap that pin out, excuse me, from the top. I use another firing pin actually out of a CZ, but you can see the pin here. I think you just about see it. But anyway, it's that hole there. That's the pin. Now it's a very small pin. Tap it through and the extractor will simply come out, and the spring sits behind here. And one of my other videos talks about tuning that spring so that it doesn't keep pushing the slide out. So let's move on to the gun itself. So if I show you again, we're going to tap out from right to left. There's a pin here that needs to come out, and we're going to take that pin out first. Little block, pin, punch, first pin. Now we're going to want to remove the ambidextrous safety, and the way we do that is we're going to apply the safety, and then you're going to pull up on the front so it lifts just here, if you see that. So it lifts at the back, and let me push it back in again. So that pin's holding it in that position. What we're going to do is just lever that up, and then take a very small flat bait screwdriver under this back edge, and then you can just pop that out. Now it'll either come out like that, or you go back to the other side now, this side you can just take out like that. Pull it up a bit. So it just rotates out. That piece may come out on the right side or the left side. It's really important that you keep the orientation of that rod that goes through and blocks the sear and hammer, that is kept in the right orientation. If that comes apart and you put it in the wrong way around, you're going to go back together, but the safety won't work. Your hammer will drop with the safe on. So very important to keep the orientation of that, and I'll show you that now. So this is on the left hand side of the gun, and that flat would need to be at the back here. Now we're left with the gun in this condition. The next pin to remove is the slide stop pin, and this retains the whole of the action inside the frame. So I'm going to tap that out. There it is. There's a couple of little springs inside the gun that retain that pin in place, but that's that out. Now, what we do, you'll notice your recoil guide rod is retained in there. That pin goes to the back of the recoil guide rod. I'll show you that in a moment. But what we're going to do, and this is a point that we need to be careful now, we're going to lift this up like that, and you'll see here, because this gun's been apart, I've taken it apart before, there's a little spring here that holds the slide stop down and pushes it down so it doesn't stop the slide coming forward again. That spring in a brand new gun that hasn't been apart probably won't have any grease on it. That's likely to fall out. So when we take this apart now, keep an eye on that spring, and that's where it goes. Now the recoil guide rod falls out, and you can see in the gun, the recoil guide rod would sit in there like that, with this pin through it. And here you can see the little coil spring that keeps the slide retaining pin in place. There's one either side. I'll do the next video so this isn't too long, and I'll show you how to take the hammer out.